Hi, I'm Roni Ben-Zur, Chief Executive Officer of French Quarter Hospitality. In late 2004, having survived the fierce downturn after 9/11, the setback in early 2003 stemming from SARS, and the start of the Iraq War, the performance of the Radisson JFK was only satisfactory. The main problem lay in our franchise affiliation. Radisson was just not delivering the support and business generation that we needed at that market. At that time, Radisson had a nationwide RevPAR index of about 88%. This indicates that as a brand nationwide, it was getting well below fair share, as indicated by a 100% RevPAR index. We were faced with two alternatives: sell the hotel for $27 million or renovate and rebrand. Rebranding is always difficult and a traumatic process for a hotel, but we knew that without such a change, there was no way that the numbers will justify the additional investment needed if we wanted to renovate the hotel to create added value. We decided to analyze the potential for a franchise change and honed in on DoubleTree, which is part of the Hilton family and is a brand growing in numbers and in strength. For instance, on a nationwide basis, DoubleTree does get its fair market share. We approached DoubleTree for a PIP. Once we had this, we analyzed the market trends, compared Radisson with DoubleTree, and finally we put together our financial projections, project feasibility. The latter was probably the most difficult part. How do you justify the future? We researched the market extensively. We used some third-party generated revenue growth projections. We used our own in-depth knowledge of this market and the DoubleTree nationwide performance. And we tested our assumptions against any number of data facts and alternative scenarios. The conclusion was pretty cut and dried: renovate and make it a DoubleTree. For the next 6 months, we negotiated and dealt with Radisson, DoubleTree, 3 separate contractors, architect, interior designer, procurement agent, etc. The easy way, of course, was to contract the whole thing out to one construction management firm and let them do it. However, this would have taken twice as long and cost us at least $1 million more. At the end of the process, we were ready to start the renovation as planned on January 1, 2006, and were scheduled to convert to a DoubleTree on June 30th, 2006. And now, I will let Mark tell you about the renovation itself.
Hi, I'm Mark Leffman, Chief Operating Officer of French Quarter Hospitality. For the new DoubleTree JFK hotel renovation, much thought to advanced planning had to be given, since we were going to completely upgrade this property without closing it down. This creates logistical problems because human beings, otherwise known as hotel guests, don't always do what you expect them to do, such as arrive and depart at exact times, nor do they wish to sleep and eat exactly when you want them to. Our primary thought was that we wanted to limit the construction times to reasonable work hours, unless it was something that was noiseless, such as painting or wall vinyl hanging. We also thought that we needed to utilize our elevators during off-guest times, which meant mostly after 11 p.m. and before 6 a.m. This way we could move old FF&E out and move new FF&E in. Naturally, we found out that at an airport hotel, there are no off-guest times. Since we had 385 rooms to redo, and our timetable was to try and do one floor every 2 weeks for the 11 guest room floors, that it would take 22 weeks from start to finish. We also felt that we could do the meeting rooms on our second floor, which, combined with the guest rooms, the fitness center, the restroom renovation, and the airline crew lounge separately, that it would be a moderate inconvenience to hotel room guests. So, armed with this knowledge, we decided to take 2 floors out of service at a time. This represented 78 rooms. Our staff would do the initial removal work of in-room equipment, and the liquidator could then take 1 floor and move out all the old FF&E, and our contractor could then start our wall vinyl prepping and carpet removal. How did this work out in the ensuing 6 months? We completed and got the hotel opened on June 28th as a DoubleTree on schedule, despite being behind on our guest room renovation, as it took 26 weeks to complete. We had to terminate our guest room contractor and scramble for another one quickly. This caused us to have, in many weeks, over 120 rooms out of order to try and catch us up. This curtailed room sales dramatically. We had multiple delivery problems, as New York is a very difficult place for trucking companies to maneuver through. Some of our materials, in fact, were shipped to the wrong hotels. We also had some breakage of many of our products, which required us to check all shipments very carefully and immediately contact the FF&E contractor to reship. Our guests at the hotel don't sleep exactly as they do at home, and making almost any noise from laying carpet, hanging drapes to drilling created complaints. We used more construction materials than we originally thought. We had to utilize more manpower than we had budgeted. We used 3 garbage dumpsters to cart away all the waste materials, as the refuge was huge and our storage inventory area required more personnel to monitor than we thought. But we moved through each issue and we learned from it. Our experience level has grown to where we want to do another renovation again. Most all of our employees and our guests put up with the inconveniences of a renovation because they could see this wonderful new product being developed, and the end result has been quite worthwhile to see. And now I would like to introduce Mike Kaufman, our Chief Financial Officer.
Thanks, Mark. On the financial front, the project was funded by the property lender in stages over the course of the renovation. In order to keep the payments to the various vendors and suppliers on schedule, bank draw requests had to be prepared monthly. These requests summarized all the costs expended in the past month since the previous pay request and included all the details, including check copies and all invoices with their backup. Also included in the funding draw requests were large subcontractor pay applications that had a short turnaround time to process, typically 12 business days. Since we were not using a general contractor, there were many subcontractor pay requests that had to be analyzed and matched against their contracts. The lien releases had to be received and reviewed from both the subcontractors and each of their subcontractors. Title reports had to be obtained to complete the monthly draw requests, and finally, the bank-approved construction consultant had to go to the site, review the work completed, prepare his report, and sign off on the funding request. The entire finance process was managed from our central accounting department in Atlanta. And now, back to Ronnie.
As you can tell, the preceding 6 months were harrowing. However, come June 28th, we were on top of our game with a fully renovated hotel rebranded as a DoubleTree. We were, however, waiting with high level of anxiety for the first DoubleTree quality inspection. In early September we had it, and we passed it. One of only 2 new DoubleTree hotels in the first half of 2006 to pass the first quality inspection. We were very proud of that. As to the projections, unfortunately, it seems that we will never be able to prove that the entire project feasibility turned out as expected. Why, you may ask yourselves? Because as we stand here today, we're about to close soon on the sale of the hotel for $48.5 million, $21.5 million more than what we were offered in late 2004. 2 years later, $7 million of additional investment, financed by additional borrowing, and 80% more proceeds for the sale is not a bad achievement in anyone's book. I guess we did prove the case for the conversion after all. The moral of the story is yet again, hard work, perseverance, and intensive management style proved to be very rewarding.